Welcome back to the channel. As always, I've missed you. There's a lot to talk about as it relates to episode 3 of this Sister Wives season. And I would say my commentary kind of falls into 2 buckets. One is Kody. You know, I'm not sure that we learned anything, but we found more evidence for what I think people already sort of felt, which is Kody has the kind of psychological maturity of an adolescent, and Kody can be exceptionally selfish, even when it feels like he's not being selfish. There is an undercurrent of selfishness. And then I also want to talk about the kids and kind of the impact that this family has had on the children. So let's start with Kody. We'll move to the kids then. Before we get into it, I want to thank all of you. Last episode, I said, hey, please hit the like button, notification bell, all that, and like double the number of you did so. So I really appreciate it, and I want to encourage you again, hit the like button. And I always forget, I do have some administrative stuff for you. First, I have a new podcast called Shrink Space with my friend and colleague, Rob Patterson. Check that out anywhere where you get your podcasts or even on YouTube. And then also, Allison and I are doing a live stream tomorrow, October 3rd at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And then after that at 8 p.m., we are doing a trivia night, a Sister Wives trivia night where people can win some PSYCH merch. So check that out. Okay, let's get into it. If it's possible, I think Kody was even less likable in this episode than he has been in the past because we got a better line of sight into how he thinks and what's motivating his behavior. The episode starts with everybody going to, I think, Logan's wedding. And in reaction to that, the wives all say, hey, it was uncomfortable, but we put our best foot forward to try and navigate it and kind of protect the kids. I thought makes sense. Kody's reaction to it was a little bit different.
I did feel like some people were trying to look like they were having more fun than me. I mean, this is how childish this whole divorce has been.
In Kody's mind, it's all about him. He actually believes that everybody else at that wedding is consumed with him. And the people that are against him are distorting their behavior in an effort to create an environment that is hostile for Kody. He is lost thinking about the friction with his ex-wives and not thinking about the experience of his son who's getting married, right? It reminds me of a concept in psychology called adolescent egocentrism. The idea that when you're an adolescent, because your body is changing, you're growing at such a quick pace, you become totally consumed with you. For most people, you evolve out of that phase of psychological thinking. But for Kody, it feels like he's stalled there. And I'll give you evidence of that. And the first is very easy to see in this specific incident. There's a psychological term called the imaginary audience. That is the idea that when you are an adolescent, you think that everybody is always watching what you're doing. When you are a teenager, you sort of believe that everybody you interact with is obsessed with you and your behavior, you and your dress, you and your interaction. So when you make a mistake on the soccer field, or you miss a question on the math test, or you stumble socially, or you wear the wrong clothes, you think that it is life-changing to everybody in your imaginary audience. And eventually people progress and you sort of recognize that no one cares that much about what you're doing. Kody's thought process at the wedding is representative of this imaginary audience. He thinks that everybody at the wedding is uber-focused on Kody. The second concept that is related to this idea of adolescent egocentrism is called the personal fable. The personal fable represents the stage of development in which an adolescent feels like they are living a story, like everything's about them, like the main character in a story. And the main character in a story always has special experiences, special gifts, unique qualities, right? You have the belief that the protagonist in a story can never be fully understood by everybody else. They have a very unique experience. Kody, I think, believes that he has a very unique experience and way of viewing the world, and we as the audience or his wives can never understand what he's going through, which relates to the next piece of this personal fable idea, which is that people will often exaggerate about their experiences or their gifts. And we can see in many examples when Kody over-exaggerates his pain, over-exaggerates his successes, over-exaggerates everything. It's this idea, again, that it's all about him and look at me and how unique I am. And then the last piece of the personal fable, typically people believe that they are unstoppable. They believe that they can't fail, they can't die, because again, in their experiences, it's all about them, and the main character never dies. And I know that Kody has great fear of death related to COVID, but I think if you look at it from a psychological standpoint, there is a trend in how Kody interacts with people, which is he is right, his perspective is always right, and he's never going to lose long term. I think this leads him to be more stubborn, more opinionated, more stable in his sort of disruptive behaviors. If he thought he could be fallible, if he thought that he could make mistakes, if he thought he could die, I think he'd be quicker to reach out to his kids and apologize. But I think he thinks, at the end of the day, I am the rock which everything else crashes against, and I'm not going to break. And I think that's a good transition to the next piece of the Kody analysis here, which is Kody's decision to try and resolve the relationship with Meri. And you hear that and you go, oh, I know what it is. Kody finally realizes that he's been a major a-hole to her over the last 32 years, and he's going to come hat in hand and say, I can't believe I did that to you. I'm so sorry. Nah.
I don't want Meri to be in this place where she's taken this direction that both Christine and Janelle have taken. Oh yeah, I need one more enemy right now. And so I'm trying to be in this place with Meri where it's like, hey, can we just be friends and move on?
He's not saying sorry because he cares about the impact he had on Meri. He's saying sorry because he's receiving a lot of heat and it's uncomfortable. It's getting hot in the kitchen and he's hoping he can cool somebody down. I think it's really important. I hope that Meri recognizes that this is not Kody showing compassion or empathy for Meri. This is Kody trying to protect himself, trying to feel better about himself. Very, very, very self-interested. Okay, and that's a good transition to the kids. And I have historically tried not to do much in the way of analyzing the kids. And I still want to avoid analyzing them, but I guess I thought this was a good episode to help people kind of think about the impact it's having, all of this drama is having on the kids. So when reflecting on the wedding, Robyn said, Gabe came up to me and said, I love you. And I reciprocated by saying, I love you back. When I heard that, I thought, isn't that wonderful that Gabe went up to her and said, I love you? And wasn't it nice that Robyn reciprocated? But then I quickly thought, man, this feels like a psychologically maladaptive behavior for Gabe. He is very upset with Robyn, very upset with Kody. He has to get over himself and his emotions. He has to sort of sacrifice himself to go over and make Robyn, who's obviously uncomfortable at this wedding, feel better. And it's a very codependent kind of behavior. So on the one hand, I look at it and go, wow, I'm so proud of Gabe. This is the most emotionally aware and kind of emotionally stable of the children to be able to do that. But sort of at second glance, really, it is a painful thing for him to do. And I know that there's been some debate, at least in my comments, about no, he's really connected with Robyn or really connected to Robyn's kids. In my mind, I wish that Robyn had been the one that went up to Gabe and said, I love you. I know that there's friction with you and Kody. I hope it gets resolved, but I want you to know I love you. That would have been a healthier interaction and then allowed Gabe to say, I love you back. It's just like I wish that the parents were the mature ones, not the kids. And of course, I shouldn't even have to say it, but I'll just say it. It would have been really nice if Kody was the one that made that interaction happen. But I think that's beyond the pale. Which brings me to Janelle's comment. Janelle feels like Robyn has been over the top about wanting her kids to have a strong relationship with Kody.
He couldn't be away for more than 3 or 4 days because Ari just gets so sad or whatever. I'm like, I feel like that was poor parenting. Through all history of the family, the other kids did it. And they're fine. They're well-adjusted adults. I think they're fine.
And I sort of have two thoughts about it. The first thought is, I recognize that in that kind of family, it's not fair for Robyn's kids to have so much more time with Kody. I understand that perspective from Janelle. But from a psychological standpoint, if you ask me what is healthiest for the kids, I think Robyn's right. I think Janelle is incorrect in saying the kids didn't need more than seeing their dad once every 4 days. I think that's the issue here, is that Kody was stretched too thin and he's too selfish to put in the effort required to build strong connections with all of the children. And I think there's evidence of that in this episode. Look at McKelty.
When Robyn first joined the family, I was trying to figure out who I was, and she made me feel special, and she made me feel seen. Robyn was there for me when I needed somebody. She was there for me when I needed somebody to hear me, to love me. Robyn gave me a chance to be heard.
Why was Mykelti so thirsty for attention and affection from Robyn? I think it's wonderful that Robyn was able to step up and support Mykelti. But Mykelti's need for Robyn at that stage of the game tells you that she was being neglected. I don't think that having this many kids in a family lends itself to psychological health. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for listening.